Let's see how the quenching media is affected here. So if you want to slow cool it, I would say just put it in the furnace. So that it slow cools a lot, and it will take like maybe 1 day for a piece of metal from 1000 degrees Celsius to bring down to room temperature, because the furnace has to cool and then the metal piece has to cool. It will take a lot of time. Imagine all these scenarios, to the, cooking and kitchen appliances. You will definitely relate it. Now take a piece of steel or a metal piece which you have heat treated and throw it in the air. So that is, you're dragging or you're sucking out the heat in a much better way. So it has a quenching effect of medium when compared with the furnace. This is all the comparison. And then comes oil. You just throw everything in an oil bath. It's still moderate. It's faster than air. It's faster than, putting everything in a closed container. And then comes water. The severity of quench is really high. What I mean the severity of quench is the way in which it sucks out all the heat from the metal component. It means the cooling rate is fast. Again, when I say cooling rate is fast, it means higher hardness. So what process is this again? It's called hardening and quenching. So industrially, there are only four methods of quenching. One is the furnace, which I haven't included here before air. So which has the severity of cooling or severity of quench very low, and that's the reason hardness is very low, and that's the reason you call it annealing process. It gives you a softer project. Next comes air. Severity of quench is small, but it is better than furnace cooling, like removing a lid on a hot cooked meal and putting a lid on it. There is a difference, right, in which it cools faster. Air cools without placing a lid or anything or exposing it to air. It really cools faster than putting a lid on it and serving hot dishes. So that is still faster, but it is small when compared to when you dip everything in a oil or water. When you dip your metal pieces in a water, the severity of quench is really large, and the hardness is also higher because of the faster cooling rate. Again, there are a lot of thumb rules here. Faster cooling rate, higher hardness, more hardness, which means less ductile. And we can discuss more if you all are interested why these phenomena occur, because faster the cooling rate, it has to do something with the internal microstructure and grain size, and that's the reason you end up with a higher hardness. Yeah, we can discuss all this in a later section. So let's see the severity of quench. So water greater than oil greater than air, which is greater than the furnace cooling, or placing lid on top of it. If you have brine solution, then the order would be brine solution greater than water greater than oil. And again, most commercial heat treaters, they usually use oil or air. Air is cheaper, right? You just have to take all the billets or the cast ingots and just throw them in the air. That is what most of them do. And over a large period of time, all you have to have is industrial space. If you have a space, you can just throw all the components into the air and just leave it there for, for a designated amount of time. It will just cool on its own. So during annealing, the material is cooled in air or heated in the furnace itself, or in the heating furnace itself. Like I said, you just put up the way in which you cool depends, and annealing is a softer product, which means you might have cooled it in a very softer way or in a slow way, which means you just have to leave the product in the furnace itself. So what happens when you leave the product in the furnace itself? The furnace utilization goes down. You cannot use the furnace for any other process because there is still material in it, and it takes really longer times to achieve or to come down to room temperature. Let's say you have heated a stainless steel to 1200 degrees Celsius or 1000 degrees Celsius. It really takes more than, I think, 24 hours just to cool down or bring it down to room temperature, like 50 degrees or 30 degrees Celsius. Let's see a quick differences on what we have learned till now. Just a mic check. Annealing and normalizing, I just summarized here because both give a relatively less harder products than compared with hardening or quenching. You can oil quenches and water quench it. Normalizing is usually air cooling, but air cooling for hardening is only done when you go with like high carbon content of steel. Let's not talk about that. So what I mean by annealing and normalizing is they are furnace cooled, which means the slow cooling rate, which means they are less strong or less hard. And as a rule of thumb, they have to be more ductile. More ductile means you can make them into any shape or any other thing. That's the reason when you see a car bonnet or window or a hood, they have to be shaped. They have to be machined in such a way that they give you that shape and look. So all the exterior of a car parts are made with aluminum and steel alloys of low carbon and low heat treated value. So they are all annealed because after heat treatment you have to bend them into different shapes. There the ductility is more criteria than hardness, and you don't want internal stresses to be developed, or you don't want your car or a bike to see visible cracking or anything. And that's the reason if you sit or if you thump very hardly on your bonnet of a car, you can see it's not strong. You can find cracks. You can just see that there is a dent in it. The dent is it is accommodating for the plastic deformation, but it's unable to crack. That means it is more hard. It is less harder and more ductile. So it again depends on what application we are using for what kind of heat treatment. The only application we usually go for hardening and quenching is when you really want a stronger products. That means you don't care about the ductility because you are not here to make any shapes. So what's the main criteria for this is you already made everything into shape, and the only thing left is to increase the hardness. Then comes hardening and quenching. So it's a value added process. But the only thing is you cool in such a rapid way. Definitely there are a lot of internal stresses, and because of which cracking can happen, dimensional distortion happens like I said. So this is a quick pick between what different kinds of heat treatments look like annealing, normalizing, hardening, or quenching. Let's get down to surface heat treatments. So why exactly do we need a surface modification or surface heat treatments? This is because there are some particular applications. If you can see, I have highlighted this in the right side blue one. There are a separate applications where you want the core of a steel or the case, you want it to be hard and tough at the both way. So the material has to be hard and tough at the same time. Tough is so that it can resist the impact loads. Let's say if you're going on a speed breaker continuously on 10 speed breakers, it has to resist the shock waves. It has to resist the impact loads. I mean, not the speed breakers that we usually have in India, but the very high loads, very impact thing that we have, that comes from the material toughness. And at the same time, it also has to have the hardness. So what we do is we chemically modify the surface, or there are different ways in which we try to just modify the surface so that the surface is hard but yet the core material inside is still soft. And one such thing is carburizing. I'll talk about this application later. So why do we use a surface treatment? There are like n number of ways. These are like the main things. One is definitely for the aesthetics and for the coating, because you don't want like a black coated thing. Let's say you're using a spoon, you don't want your spoon to be black and coated with all mud and tar, right? They'll neatly coat it, they fine it, they polish it, they rebuild the surface. So that is why a surface treatment is really important for n number of reasons. One, like I told, you have to improve the hardness, which can improve the durability of the product. You don't want to buy a spoon for every week, right? The stainless steel product. And it also has to control the friction. When we are talking mostly about, so these controls friction and improves lubrication, these points only come when we are talking about the automobile industry, because that is where you require to reduce adhesion and rebuild surfaces and aesthetics. So these are main things or main tidbits why we use a surface heat treatments. You might already know about it. And let's see the different kinds of surface heat treatment which we have. I am sure if you Google it, there will be like another 10 more added to it. But these are the main surface heat treatments which I think are very important. And industrially, these are mainly used. Mechanical surface treatment or coating is just you add a coating on the steel surface or anything, let's say like a galvanizing process or something like that. And just for this module, let's restrict all our self attention to the case hardening, which is the second one, which we're going to discuss in the next slides. Thermal spraying, ion implantation, diffusion, and vapor deposition are mostly has to do with the physical and chemical treatments, or the physical or chemical modifications of the surface. We don't alter a lot much with the chemistry unless we are talking about the case hardening or thermal spraying or diffusion coating. So there are a lot of surface modification of materials, and the case hardening, which is the second one, is only treated as a heat treatment process. So case hardening is also one method of heat treatment, because the ultimate product gives you a hardened steel or like a hardened material. So what we do is we leave the piece of steel or whatever the material you want to case harden in an environment of, let's say, carbon. So carbon keeps diffusing into the surface of steel at a depth of maybe like 3 mm or maybe 2 mm. It depends on how much mm you want the hardness. So the maximum depth that I have worked is 2.5 mm. So that's the reason I just put the value there. So carbon keeps entering into the surface of steel, while the core, you don't have the carbon. So it is still the basic steel. So it doesn't have any hardness. The part where the carbon is diffused, till that you will have hardness. So hardness is increased and yet the toughness is still remain. So quick classification of case hardening. We have a lot of process again. If you Google it, you will have again a 10 more or 20 more just in the case hardening process. All these come under heat treatment. That's the reason we are only dealing with case hardening. Thermal spraying, ion implantation, those we generally don't classify as a heat treatment process. Only case hardening is treated as a heat treatment process. So carburizing, nitriding, carbonitriding, cyaniding, boronizing, flame and induction hardening. Out of all these, the induction that complete to the right and the left one, carburizing and nitriding, these are most industrially used. Wherever you go to a mechanical industry, you can find them. Carburizing is basically you heat a piece of steel either in a gas, liquid, or solid environment so that carbon diffuses into it. And these are the main applications of carburizing for a pinion, differential shaft, or a gear. And these are used in your transmission and all the automobile industry. I think more than 85% of all the automobile industry, they are either carburized or nitride or induction hardened. If it's a differential shaft, it is induction hardened, that is for sure. Let's quickly peek into applications. So basically what you have to understand is this is a process. So obviously they are advantage. So if you take a piece of metal in your day-to-day life, I am sure like 90% of all those pieces are heat treated. It's just that we don't know that those are heat treated. And whenever I say heat treated, it's a simple thing. You just heat it, soak it, and cool it. And the rate of cooling determines what process you are doing and how much hardness you want. So taking from your spoons, forks, plate, or a metallic watches, or TV appliances, everything. If it's a metal, it is heat treated. Almost 90-95%. And I think most of the applications where we heat treat a particular piece of steel is mostly in the automobile industry, because automobile industry, they have like each part in automobile industry has a different functioning, and based on the different application, we one requires a higher hardness and one requires a low hardness because it has to resist fatigue loads and impact loads, like fasteners or panels or camshafts or drive shafts. So I worked with a lot of drive shafts and fasteners, so both of them go into the same car or a same automobile, but still the heat treatment is like very different. There is not even a same common thing. The only common thing is heating and soaking. The cooling is completely different. And I just included this site so that you people know that it's not only about steel and iron everywhere. It's about different materials that we see around. This is just a material inside. You can see the different kinds of materials such as like aluminum, brass, and copper. They have been going and increasing because of the market trends right now, which we are seeing. Okay, not okay. This is all before COVID again. So every material that you see into your day-to-day life, I just want you to say that this slide is very important, so that I just included so that you can go through all these and say that hey, it's not only about steel or structural steels which we talk, or only the iron. It's all about the different material. It's just that we don't know what kind of thing we are going on. This is just a product cycle of a slip yoke, which you can see in between. So these slip yokes are already prepared. So they have a particular dimensional tolerance, let's say 2.653 mm. The 2.653 till the 653, the tolerance is very much important for the slip yokes. Otherwise, while driving a car, we can slip. This is like a crucial part which holds the differential shaft. So we still heat treatment this, and how heat treatment is important is you select the material, you made everything right, and you do all the CAD CAM operations. So all the process is added. It's the product which you are seeing in the center of this flow chart. It has a lot of price added to it. It has undergone a lot of process, and it has been shaped like this. And now heat treatment and lubrication surface treatment have to be selected in such a way that the 2.653 is not affected. I have worked with one of these slip yokes. Even 2.6549 is rejected many times. 2.653 is the requirement. So 2.6529 mm is rejected directly. The mm which I'm talking is the diameter or the hole in between the vessel yoke. It's a rightmost side diagram. So you don't want to mess the heat treatment. So heat treatment, what I'm going to say in this slide is heat treatment is usually a value added process. The product which you get as a raw material in the heat treatment has undergone a lot of process. So it has, industry has put a lot of price in it. So you don't want to mess it. So you have to choose the heat treatment in such a way that it can still further add value to it. So then you can coat it. Once the heat treatment is done, you can coat it and you can do the quality inspection, and that's how you send a product out. And this is basically how the India market is right now. Although this is 2016 and I'm not talking after or during COVID. Let's restrict ourselves. Like I said, it's mostly about the automotive industry that grabs most heat treatment. So if you're sitting in a car, if you're in a bike, you're holding a metal piece or you're just pressing hard your clutch or a gear rod or everything. If it's a metal, I know it's a metal, so that means it is been heat treated, that is for sure. It's just that we don't know whether what kind of process it has undergone. So, and mostly the aerospace industry in everywhere in the world is occupied by aluminum or titanium because of its lightweight. Steel is never used in, all the Air India, Spice, Indigo, whatever that is. It's completely all the panels, windows, everything is aluminum and titanium or nickel superalloys because they can resist high temperature and pressure. At the same time, they are lightweight. So automobile, aerospace, and metalworking. What I mean by metalworking is whenever you do casting or forging, you still have to heat treat it because for n number of reasons you want it to be hard enough because you have already made it into a shape, but you don't have higher hardness. So most of the heat treatment also goes to the metalworking process. Wherever you have metalworking, definitely there you can find heat treatment. And that is how the present scenario is. The automobile industry is very important. And I have this directory. I'm not going to open this link. You can just Google it. Just click heat treatment directory in India or USA. You can find a bunch of industries which use this heat treatment processes and services. You can talk with them, you can see what kind of process they are doing, like welding, brazing, soldering. Apart from that, those are all metal joining process. Apart from that, how they are using the heat treatment to make their products more better, more how more hardness is achieved, how more ductility is obtained.